Yeah, it's a rad little watch. Amazfit sent over the new GTS 4 for me to take on a test drive and share some thoughts, and I felt really bad because the first whole week I had it, I really couldn't test it much. It was hitting well over 100 degrees in my neighborhood, and I just couldn't handle that for long. Spending a bit more time with it in more reasonable conditions, this is a fantastic option for health and fitness tracking. And I'm happy to see some improvements to the smart features too. Now, my personal preference is for a full-featured smartwatch, but that often means we only get a day, maybe 2 days of battery life per charge. Those runtime numbers look a lot better on fitness trackers, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. The GTS 4 is a clean, simple watch, a rectangular polished stone look, which should be pretty familiar these days. Obviously, there's a touchscreen, it's a nice OLED, but there's also a click crown that can scroll through the UI. You just kind of twist this little knob here. Really easy to get up and running with familiar layout and interactions, how you swipe across the screen. This is running the new Zepp OS 2, and we've seen a lot of effort has gone into the software. Bunch of little applets, more apps to install, and the GTS supports the Amazon Alexa Assistant for voice actions. How far away is the Earth from the moon?
Today, the moon is 234,500 miles from Earth.
That microphone also means the watch can be used to handle voice calls on your phone over Bluetooth. The spec sheet is pretty strong. A new sensor for 24-hour heart rate and blood oxygen with improved sleep and stress tracking. A new GPS sensor, which is a lot more accurate than on most of my other watch and tracker reviews. More fitness modes for workouts, more local storage for music and playback. The companion app on the phone has been spruced up for tracking and sharing all your data. And the watch haptics are really nice. There's a pluck feel for individual menu and navigation selections with a bit of a flutter feel for alerts. And the battery has been surprisingly good. Now, if we go to the website, it's rated for 4 days of heavy use or 30 days of clock mode. The real world numbers I got were way better than I was expecting. The smarter a watch gets, the sooner you need to charge it. So seeing 4 days of heavy use made me kind of nervous. But I ran this for almost 2 weeks with just casual daily tracking and a couple of my workouts throughout the week. I still had room on the battery for another day or two. The only reason I topped it off when I did was to get the newest firmware update, which needs at least a 30% charge. I could have gone longer. This is one of the deciding purchasing points for the GTS. It's a little pricey to just cover the basics. You can get step tracking and even heart rate tracking for a lot less these days. The way I passively track that kind of data, the GTS is overkill. So it's when you start pushing workouts and digging into your health data a little more, that's when these features really shine. Across the industry, and specifically on the GTS 4, these new PPG sensors are pretty crazy. I still think we're a little ways behind chest straps, but this is significantly more accurate when I try to manually check my pulse rate, and I'm trusting these numbers a lot more for blood ox. I don't want to take this video dark, this is going to sound a little crazy, but as we start to crawl out of the last 2 years of global pandemic, facing a disease that was pretty good at wrecking your cardiovascular system and lungs, better data on blood oxygen is a nice peace of mind feature, especially when the hardware and the scanning, that interaction is a little more fluid. But better, like I mentioned before, this has been one of the best behaved watches I've used recently for GPS tracking a workout. It's so much snappier than previous generations of trackers. GPS lock is faster, and then that interaction for tracking your workout, your heart rate, everything's just a little bit snappier. Even doing the watch's general health assessment, no more of that hold still while you touch the watch with both hands for over a minute while we do a stress test. I'm still a little wary of any watch, any consumer-facing solution being used in situations where you really should be using hospital-grade health monitoring equipment, but these features getting more responsive, I think they're really good for looking at trends over time. If you have some health concerns and you're working with a doctor and you just want to see what this looks like over a couple months, or if you're in pretty good shape and you're wanting to focus on a specific aspect of your training or of your workouts. These watches are doing a much better job of filling in those gaps. And there's less downtime thanks to the great battery life. You can build a pretty good profile of your general health, use that data to create better goals, and it's just nice interacting quickly for workouts and individual scans. It's so good at its core feature set, makes me a little bit cranky that we still can't quite push over into the world of more smartwatch functionality. The alerts work great on this watch. You select individual apps that are allowed to send notifications to your wrist, and I'm happy to see that they just work out of the box. I mean, all too often I've had issues where text messages decide that they can't work, or you need to jump through silly hoops to get a security feature working on the phone to talk to the watch. So far, the only techie feature which just outright failed was the camera mode. And this is a beta feature. It's not even a main core feature of this watch, but my Pixel 6 Pro just refused to connect over Bluetooth and share the camera view. I'm pretty much fine with that, because otherwise, the little applets are great. Now, we don't have payments on the GTS, but I can add loyalty cards or membership cards. We've got weather, stopwatch, calendar, to-do lists, voice memos, and a whole store of other little controls. Meditation, calorie counters, reminders, inspirational quote of the day, different calculators, a companion for Google Maps turn-by-turn navigation, and even some remote controls for GoPro cameras. There's a lot of good stuff here, and with a good collection of watch faces, this gives Android Wear a serious run for its money, until I get a message and I only have canned responses. It's one of the things I do the most on my watch is use speech to text as a reply, so I don't have to pick up my phone. I get tons of alerts, and I really like that kind of quick reply interaction. We're so close here on the GTS. I have the microphones, I have the apps and notification settings. I just can't stick the landing on one of my most used interactions. I'm personally still gonna stick with full computer smartwatches for the foreseeable future, but the overlap in features here is getting me so close to pushing me over to fitness trackers. Battery life alone is a huge perk, and I think more folks will appreciate the days of runtime off the charger with the better fitness and health tracking.
You have walked 4 kilometers. Speed for the last 1 kilometer, 5.67 kilometers per hour.
This whole market is really hot right now with options to shop. Even internally, the GTS 4 is in good company, where if you could wear a larger watch face, the GTR 4 can give you even better battery life at the same price. And looking at some other competitors, I recently test drove the TicWatch GTH Pro, and it can offer some similar health and fitness tracking. It also has skin temperature sensors, but the PPG scanning is a two-handed affair, and there aren't as many apps to play with. This is also a pretty good fight against a Fitbit, where feature to feature, we're pretty close to a Versa. Now, the Versa will at some point, maybe, have better support for Google Wallet. I don't believe that's been added yet. It still says coming soon on the Fitbit website. And of course, Fitbit also has that premium subscription for more fitness and partner apps and perks. But watch to watch, hardware to hardware, the Amazfit is neck and neck for a little less. It really is fun watching the improvements generation over generation. I think one of the last watches I got to play with was the T-Rex, so a more rugged package, but this has been a smoother operator. It's been a little bit more fun to poke around. Small touches here and there to individual features, making the UI a little more responsive. It all adds up. So I will, of course, leave some links down below where you can find more information on Amazfit watches, specifically the GTS 4. Maybe shop one of these bad boys online. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, and subscribing to the channel. All the support lately has been absolutely amazing. For those folks who are checking out links, maybe you're hitting up my home site, SomeGadgetGuy.com, or perhaps you're joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen from my Patreon, patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. These folks are the coolest tech pals in the galaxy, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Twitch. Not so much on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, but I will catch you all on the next review.